Have you ever felt the weight of silence? When a man looks at a woman as if she's the answer to a question he never knew he was asking. Why is it that men, rational, composed, seemingly in control, can become consumed by a presence she doesn't even notice? What hidden force bends the will, rewires the soul, and turns certainty into obsession? There's a reason this happens, but it's not what you've been told. They say love is mutual. They say attraction is a dance between two hearts. But what if one of them is dancing alone, intoxicated by a rhythm she can't hear? The truth is, there's something ancient and primal that pulls men in. Something beyond her smile, beyond her beauty. And it's not what she does, it's who she unconsciously becomes. The irony? She walks away, never knowing the storm she left behind, never seeing the fire she sparked, without striking a single match. What if I told you that every man who's ever fallen too fast, too deep, too hard, was under the spell of a presence crafted not by intention, but by archetype? A presence that speaks to his forgotten wounds, his silent wars, his yearning to be chosen in a world that always made him prove his worth. And yet she remains oblivious, not out of cruelty, but because she was never taught to see what her presence does. She doesn't reject him, she never even knew she had him. This isn't a story about romance. This is a revelation about power, hidden, soft, and underestimated. A magnetism she never asked for, a hunger he can't explain, and a disconnect that's quietly destroying them both. The closer he gets, the further she seems. The more he gives, the less she feels. And somewhere in the silence between them, something ancient echoes. He's falling into a memory, and she was never even aware she was the muse. So here's the question that no one dares to ask. What if love isn't what we think it is? What if it's not a mutual flame, but a mirror showing each of us what we're still trying to find? Watch closely, because somewhere in this story, buried beneath every word, is the answer to why he always knows first, and she almost never does. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once it begins, you'll feel it too. He never said it out loud, maybe out of shame, maybe out of fear. Fear of seeming weak in a world that demands strength, quick answers, and the absence of pain. But there, deep inside him, a presence took root, her. Not because of what she offered, not because of the words she said, but because of who she was in silence. A feeling he couldn't name, only feel. And the more he tried to understand it, the more he lost himself. Like someone walking through a dream, mistaking the sky for the sea. There was something in her that pulled him inward, not like an invitation, but like an ancient, almost mythical calling. As if his soul recognized something his eyes had never been trained to see. He started watching her in the smallest details. The way she touched her hair without realizing. The way she stared into nothing, as if she were speaking to something no one else could hear. She made no effort to seduce, and perhaps that's exactly why she did. She wasn't trying to be seen, but it was impossible not to notice her. And then came the abyss. She didn't see, she never noticed what was happening behind those silent eyes that followed her. To her, it was just another day. To him, it was the beginning of something irreversible. How can someone start a revolution without even knowing they struck the match? He tried. And perhaps deep down, he never wanted to be seen with the eyes, but with the soul. Because there's a difference between looking and recognizing. And as she passed by, light and distracted, unaware that she was leaving traces of eternity in ordinary footsteps, he was rebuilding himself in silence. It was never about conquest. It was about revelation. Something inside him had been touched, not by her, but by what she represented. A reunion with a forgotten part of himself. An ancient longing to be embraced without needing to explain, prove, or resist. She never knew she carried that power, and maybe she never will, because the greatest impacts don't come with noise, but with presence. The world taught women to be seen, but not to recognize the power they hold simply by being. And it taught men to chase after something that already lives within them. The thirst for meaning, the longing to be chosen by what is invisible to the eyes, yet inevitable to the heart. So they go on, she walking in the real world, he trapped in the invisible. But in the end, what remains is not her absence, It's the mirror she left behind. A frameless mirror where he sees himself more deeply than he ever dared to look. And in that reflection he understands what drew him was never just her, but the memory of a love he lost for himself. She was the reminder, the signal, the portal, and that is enough. Because some presences don't come to stay, they come to awaken. Now everything feels different, even though nothing outside has changed. What changes is the gaze. What once was pain is now discovery. What was silence is now language. What was absence is now full presence, even without reciprocity. Because sometimes the other doesn't come to love you, they come to reveal you. And that revelation is worth more than any returned affection. She doesn't need to know. He needed to feel, and he did. If something inside you was touched in that same place, that space between memory and longing, between absence and truth, then you're already part of this. You are not alone. Like, comment, share, but not out of habit. Do it as someone who reaches out in the dark, saying, I saw it too. And subscribe, not because of an algorithm, but because of destiny. Because this conversation isn't ending, it's just beginning.